Let's talk about mental health then. So, in my previous video, I spoke massively around the importance of the language you're using and how this will internally impact the results you achieve and the actions you decide to take. Now, in this video, I want to go a little bit more into the actions that we take and the importance of those actions. So, a lot of people take action depending on various different things. There's various different reasons, drivers that lead to them taking certain actions. So, for example, if we look at the mental health, and a lot of people that I've experienced and I've been around, is a lot of us, we do a lot of negative things due to the fact that the environment we grew up in, or the environment we're used to, is a very negative one, and it's quite a toxic environment, which leads us to having a mindset of everybody's against us, everything's against us. The only way to win is to do it this way, and 9 times out of 10 it leads us to doing things that, if we're honest, I'm sure a lot of us are ashamed of some of those actions we've taken, and it also leads to us doing a lot of things that we shouldn't do that impacts others as well. So when I'm talking about the actions, I'm looking at about actions that we take daily, that we do, or you take daily, that you do for a particular reason. So, for example, with myself, one action I like to do, or I have a few, but one, for example, that I like to do, and I've spoken about this in others, is I like to do cold plunges. I like to do an ice bath in the morning, and there's a reason for it. Yes, many health benefits, as I mentioned in previous videos, but a lot of it, and the reason I do cold plunges, because in all honesty, I don't want to do it. It's not something that I wake up in the morning and go, do you know what? I'm excited to go and get in a fucking cold bath of water and sit there for 3 to 5 minutes enjoying it. Because the reality is, it's not that simple. It ain't that easy, and anybody who tells you otherwise, they're lying through their teeth, or they've done it once. So, the thing with the action is, it's about understanding what is it you're doing the action for? What is the reason? And I was actually talking to my wife about this morning, and when I look back at myself last year, I used to take action. So I'd read all these books, I'd read all the things that you should do to overcome mental health. And they say a lot of it is, you end up doing nothing, it leads you to doing nothing. And I wasn't doing anything, I admit that. But there were certain actions I was still doing. So I was still reading 10 pages of a book every day. I was still doing my cold plunge, and I was still running. However, the thing with those 3 actions is I wasn't doing them because of the gain. I was doing them because my belief told me that if I keep doing these are going to get rid of my problem, because people say you should take action. And I'd looked into it, and after about 8 months of still doing this, taking morning runs, doing a cold plunge, reading daily, my actual mental disposition wasn't changing. It hadn't moved. I still had those negative thoughts. I still had that overwhelming feeling of anxiety, not being able to get out of bed, feeling sick, and then going and doing a job that there's nothing wrong with the job, but because of the style of work I was in, that internally was having more impacts and more effects with how I was feeling about myself. So the thing there is, I started to look into it and started really reading around the actions, but more importantly, and as I mentioned in others, is the language aspect. But why is it I'm doing them? Is it because I feel good for doing the action, or is there other things that I can gain from this? So what I started to notice is, by doing certain actions, I was gaining a discipline. I got to the point, and I'm there now, where I've got to a point where I don't do something based upon how it feels. I don't do it based upon how I feel for doing it. I do it because it's either A, something I've committed to, so I'm going to do it regardless, or B, I'm doing it because of the benefits. So I don't look at how I feel in the activity, but I look at what the actual gain is. What's the benefit of doing it, and why am I doing it? And by doing that, that started to grow my confidence, because I was doing these daily, my discipline was improving, I was doing things regardless. My confidence in myself started to improve. I felt better about myself because I was doing the actions and I was gaining the benefit of the action, not just the doing of it. That then, because my confidence was better, I had more self-respect, and that then led to me having improved health, because obviously I was doing things that were consistent. Now, what's the flip side of this? Because as with everything, with each and every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the danger with putting and committing to actions is if you do too much, you will burn out. That's what I did last year. That's what actually led to me realising that it's not just about action, it's about some of the other things that are going on up here that are changing me. So, yes, language is vitally important, and I personally believe it starts with the language aspect, then it comes the action. But what I'm looking at here and what I was saying there is the flip side here is if you committed to taking actions and you don't do them, you're then going to get an internal conflict. You're then going to get to that point where, like I was, where I was self-destructing. So because I wasn't doing it, my language wasn't a positive language. My language was, well, look at you, you're a fucking waste of space. You can't even do one thing that you've said you would do. What use are you? And so I started to get this internal conversation with myself and this internal sort of position that I was a loser, I was useless. Everything I said I was going to do, I wasn't getting to it. And I really started to look at that aspect and started to realise that, yes, the actions are vitally important because the actions are what build the confidence, the actions are what build the discipline and the self-respect and all the other things that you gain from doing them. However, it was how do I get myself to take the action for the right reasons, in the right direction? And that was where, as I said, for me, I look at the language, I look at the action, and I think between the two, they complete the circle. But what I really want you to look at, and what I started with was, I didn't try and do all the actions in one go. I built them up like you build a house. You lay the foundations first. So with me, the foundation was the cold plunge. That was something that it's not a feelings based, it's a result. What's the achievement? And the thing there is if you overcommit yourself and you do too much, as I said previously, you're either going to A, keep up to them and you're going to burn out, or B, you're going to overcommit. And then all of a sudden, the feeling side of things, so this is where the language comes in, is going, well, actually, I don't feel like doing it today. I'll do it tomorrow. And once that language starts to slip in, it's very easy for it to continue to repeat itself. And before you know it, you're a month down the line, and that thing that you was going to do tomorrow has gone past 30 some days. So please look at it and be careful what you commit yourself to. And what I would encourage is personally look at, because again, I'm looking at this on every aspect of your life. So what's your health related, the family relation, the money aspect? You know, you need to work this in all different areas. But what is three actions that you can take today that you can build on? But only do those three actions for the next 30 days. Don't try and add more to it. Start small. Start with simple. Like I said, for myself, I'm not great when it comes to reading. I can stand and talk to you all day long, but when it comes to reading, I'm terrible. So my commitment is to 10 pages. That's 15 minutes of my day. Now, the reality is I do more than 10 pages. So I always feel like I've achieved more anyway, but I only commit to a small goal with that particular aspect of my life that I'm trying to improve, because it's one thing that I find difficult. So I don't want to overwhelm myself and commit to doing 30, 40, 50 pages. I'd rather commit to 10 and do 50, because then the 40 pages I've done on top are as a result of the extra effort I decided to add in, not I didn't meet my quota. So just look at the little things that you're doing, look at those small actions and start building on them. But whatever you do, and I really do want to sort of stress is, don't overcommit. Don't burn yourself out for the want of trying to prove something. Start small, build up. Because at the end of the day, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're exactly the same, guys. We have to start somewhere and start building it up. And before you know it, you will be Rome. So go out there, identify those small actions, but just remember yourself and remind yourself the one thing that you must change immediately is the language you're using with yourself and what those actions mean. So don't look at the, well, it's going to be hard. Don't look at that side of it. Look at the achievement. So when I've done this, when I've completed this, I'm going to feel X. When I've done this, I'm going to feel Y. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to gain and build upon my discipline. And so if you keep driving them and drilling them forward, that's what's going to get you through, not the motivation. So stay the course, believe in yourself, but just identify those small actions and apply the right language, guys. Love you all. Stay blessed. Take care.